Hey guys, it's little Zany Janie. I am little Zany Janie and thank you for watching. So I am making this video because I am on a travel assignment currently in Houston, Texas. So I am a sterile processing technician. I deal with surgical instrumentation before and after surgery. And I have come to this hospital because they needed someone to cover while they had people out on vacation. Sometimes they do that, and then I guess sometimes they hire travelers because they just don't have enough staff and they need a fast someone who can come in and know what they're doing. So I am certified. I actually do have 2 certifications for my field in sterile processing, and I'm currently working on a bunch of CEUs to renew my first certification because it's almost time to renew it. So that's what I've been doing with my life. But I want to talk about my experience so far. It has definitely been different. I am working with people I've never worked with before who are from a different state and who run things a little differently. I'm also working with equipment that I have worked with before, but on a different scale. They have 3 single chamber washers, which the first hospital I worked at only had 1, and then they had tunnel washers, which were where they did all of the cycles in different areas of the machine, and these washers only do it in 1. It's all done in 1 chamber. And then the sterilizers are the older version of the sterilizers. They are the push in and pull out on the same side, which is fine. They are difficult sometimes to line up though on the rack. What are they called? Like the carts. The carts that put the racks on and everything. So that is something that's interesting. They do have the newer version of V-Pro machines though. So instead of just the regular gas plasma steroid machines, they have the V-Pro machines, which are the upper end version, and they don't abort as much with water concentration. So if you have a little bit of water in it, it's okay. You just still want to try and dry it as best you can. And they don't have a drying chamber here, which is different. Some of the other things, what's nice though, is they do have the desks that have the button where you can raise it up and down. I think that's important. They don't have those in decontam, like at the first hospital I worked at, but the second hospital I worked at didn't have the raisable sinks either. I think that would definitely hurt my back, but thankfully I don't have to work in decontam too often. I have had to go back there once, and that was just because well, to actually suit up and everything. I've gone back there a couple times because I had a set that was dirty, and then I just went ahead and flushed it and then sent it back through the washer because I don't clean on the assembly side. I know that some people do, but you're not supposed to. And it's really kind of gross because all of that bacteria and all of the blood and bioburden that you're pushing out of that instrument or off of that instrument, you are then putting in a towel and putting in the garbage can, but you're putting that instrument back in the set and then having that set being sterilized. You cannot sterilize an unclean set. Something you should know. So I don't do that. So I end up putting a lot of sets back, but I do that for the patient's sake. Not only, you know, it is a little annoying for the person in decontam, but I'd rather annoy the person in decontam and do my job correctly than to risk that patient's life, because these instruments are going physically inside them, and you know, it's helping them do whatever they need done so they can move forward with their lives. And I think that's one of the best parts about what I do, is that it's just saving lives. Like, I literally save lives with every set that I do. And you can't have surgery without sterile processing, because you can't have sterile surgical instruments without someone to sterilize them. But they go through a whole process, through the decontamination process, which is removing all the bioburden, and the mechanical and hand washing. And then it goes through the washer, if it can, or through the window, and then it is assembled. So it's checked to ensure cleanliness, but it's also checked to ensure the usability of all of the instrumentation and the full functionality. So I cut with the scissors, I test all the ratchets, I also, I check the tips to make sure that they're not bent and that they, they align and everything like that. Same with the forceps and things like that. That's something that I ensure that I do. I have worked at a couple of hospitals, so I am really glad for that experience because it gave me the opportunity to see how different hospitals work. So this is my third hospital, and it's definitely, there are still things that people do wrong where they clean on the assembly side or, whatever. But I'm trying really hard to just make myself the best sterile processing technician I can, because I'm actually considered a Tech 3 because I have 2 certifications. But those certifications and those courses that I took have, as well as the CEUs that I'm, working towards now, definitely help with reminding me why we have so many rules and what those rules are and how to enforce them upon myself. I don't worry about what other people do, because I don't have to. As a supervisor, I was a supervisor for about a year. Actually, it was more than a year at the first hospital I worked at, and I had to ensure that other people were doing their job, and it just was a mess. It was hard. It was hard work because people take shortcuts and they do things that they shouldn't, and when you catch them or you say something to them because it's your job to say something to them, they get angry with you, even though they know that they're doing something wrong. Sorry. I'm in the locker room. I'm in the locker room. I just wanted to make this before I left. So I am currently in the hospital, but I have clocked out. So what's up? Clocked out. I also, as a traveler, am learning that you kind of have to make yourself amicable with everyone. Like, I've tried to joke with everyone. I've tried to smile at anyone, that I pass. I look them in the eye and I ask them how they're doing, rather than just keeping my head, my head down, or like looking at my phone. That was something that they actually talked about. They don't want you walking around on your phone because it's part of our patient care, in the hospital's ethical standards and things like that, to greet people and to make people feel comfortable here, because it is a hospital, and being in a hospital is not always a good thing. If you work in a hospital, you kind of get used to the fact that, hey, I'm in a hospital every day, but we sometimes forget that people come to the hospital when they are sick or dying, and it's not always fun. So to have babies and things like that too. So good things and bad things. That's something I try to keep in mind. Sometimes, just like every other job, I do look at the clock and I'm like, man, I am ready to leave. But then I try to remind myself, I am here for a purpose. I am here to help save lives and to do the best job that I can do. And I just try not to look at the clock, because it's hard when you keep looking at the clock and it's only been 10 minutes, it's only been 5 minutes, it's only been 2 minutes since I looked at the clock last time. I don't do that to myself anymore. Something that's really nice about this hospital too is that you can have a headphone. So you don't want to have both in, because you want to be able to hear the sterilizers, or, if the machines need to be running, or you need to be aware of your surroundings, is what I was told. I was like, okay, that's fine. So I have these handy dandy Galaxy Buds. Thank you, Chris. They were a wonderful Christmas present, and I greatly appreciate them. I use them all day, pretty much every day. And I actually listen to the Bible all day long. So I think that's also been helpful, is because the Bible has books that are, hour, 2 hour. There are books that are 4 hours long. Psalms is a 4 hour long reading, but it's an audiobook. So it's helping me, and it's helping me to keep the reason why I'm doing this important to me. It's keeping that in the forefront of my mind, and it's keeping me focused on what I'm doing rather than what I'm going to be doing later, because I'm trying to stay present and be here and do what I need to do. So that's something that's different. The pay is nice. I'm not going to lie to you. I get paid weekly, and it's a pretty good sum. But that sum comes from my housing stipend because I'm more than, I think, 50, I'm not sure how many miles. I think it's like 50 to 90 miles away from my residence. But I still have to pay my mortgage, or my half the mortgage. So I'm making double payments because I'm renting an Airbnb and then I'm paying my mortgage. So I have, that money is being spent. So I get a housing stipend, and then I also get like a meal stipend, but those are weekly. So, you know, if you can keep that down under what you use out of that, you make more money. I technically only make like $12 an hour, which is not the best for a tech, but because of the housing stipend and the meal stipend, I make a lot more. And to be 100% with you, I paid about $1,400 for my Airbnb this month, and to cover that, all of that went on my credit card. To pay off my debt, I'm working really hard. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. Traveling, I make twice as much as I did as a sterile processing technician working just at a hospital. I make about $34 an hour, which is, you know, from the housing stipend and from the meals, and then my $12 an hour. The housing stipend and the meal are non-taxable because they are for a specific purpose. So the $12 an hour is the taxable income, and that is how I make so much money. It's because of those stipends. If I were to take an assignment that was within that range of my own house, I would not make nearly as much money because I wouldn't have those stipends to make up for that. But I work travel agency. So I'm considered an agency worker or a traveler. And that's definitely something new. I've never been a traveler before. I've worked with travelers and I thought, hey, you know, they're cool, it's whatever. But to be a traveler is a different experience. People have been nice so far though. Just because I go out of my way and I'm like, hey, how do you do this here? Will you help me? And I just kind of ingratiate myself to them by little tidbit moments that I see an opportunity to say something nice to them and go from there. So the work part has been fine. The work part, you know, I've been working 8s. This is the end of my 3rd week. So next week is my last week because I only have a 4-week assignment. So then I'll be going back to Oklahoma. Get to take that 8-hour drive with my cats again. Woo! But anyway, the work has been good. The hospital is clean, which is good. Hardcore, that's a good thing for hospitals to be clean. They do follow a lot of the regulations. They do have, like, they had infection control come in and do around while since I've been here. So there are people upkeeping the system, and that's important. So far it's been good. I hope that this was helpful, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else that is important that I haven't. Oh, the scrubs. So some hospitals have you bring your own scrubs. I don't agree with that because you're taking all of that stuff, especially if you work in daytime, you're taking all that stuff with you home and exposing your family to that. But that's what a lot of nurses do. It's what a lot of hospital workers do. Sterile processing though, they have a machine. It's got sterile scrubs in it, and so you go through and you pick your scrubs and stuff. That is really neat. I haven't had that before. They were just laundered and put in the closet at the hospitals I worked at. But the sterile scrub machine I think is important because we do deal with a lot of sterile instrument sets, and it's important for that to keep the sterility. It's like, I'm sterile, don't touch me. But if you have sterile clothes on, it's not as bad when you're unloading those sterile instruments to the sterile storage. I don't have to work in sterile storage. I don't have to work in detam, except for those, you know, a couple of times I don't have to work in sterile, like the actual processing part either. I just assemble and then do peel packs and things of that nature. So I unload washers though, and I put away stuff. I help clean up. If they ask me to, or if I've done everything that I can for assembly, I will go ahead and be like, hey, do you need help? Can I help you? And people have really responded well to that. Some places they don't, because they don't want you doing more than what you've been assigned, but here it hasn't been a problem. So the manager is really nice and he is helpful. The coordinator or daytime supervisor is super kind, and she has shown me quite a bit regarding the situation here, so that's awesome. The management seems to be well run and that they are very drama free, which is not the case in every hospital. If you work in a hospital, you know what I'm talking about. So that's kind of something that's really interesting. I like that a lot. And then the technicians they've been good. You know, they just come in and work and do their job, and then they go home. Woo! Yay! Best part of the day is the time to go home. So I get a 30-minute lunch, and I do, here, I'll show you. That's my locker. I filled out a timesheet, so I do still have to clock in and out because the hospital wants proof that I was physically here, but this is what actually pays me. It is a weekly timesheet, as you can see, weekly timesheet that I go ahead and fill in with when I got here, and then what time I left. I do write in military time just because it's easier. And then I sign, and then also the manager or supervisor signs it. I also did a travel reimbursement. Here it is. Okay. So this is a travel reimbursement form. I put the odometer reading on my car because I drove here from my house, and then I put the odometer reading when I got here. And it's a maximum of $150, but you get paid 53.5 cents per mile from that original housing to the hospital. And because I exceeded that, I got the full $150, which was on the paycheck I got today. Because it's Friday. Super exciting stuff. So I did that. That's something I'll do too when I go to my next assignment, is another travel reimbursement. And then these papers are what I do. I keep all of these for my records. So I don't know if you should do that or not, but I definitely do. This video is going a little longer than I expected, so I'm sorry. I definitely like the fact that it still scrubs. I haven't really seen anything abhorrent to the hospital, so that's really good. The people have been pretty nice. They're very helpful when I ask questions, and just kind of inviting me, because I wanted them to know, like, hey, I'm here to help you. I'm not here to take your job or make you look bad or anything. Like, I'm literally here to be a person with hands that does stuff. So that's kind of my experience so far with my first travel assignment. I do have another week to go, so I will let you know how that goes. I hope that this has been helpful, and please know that I don't say any of this to cause any strife between myself or anyone else. I purely say this because I didn't know what it was like to be a traveler until my roommate was a traveler. And he's been in Alaska for the past 7 months. So it's definitely a different experience. Like, his first assignment was here in Texas, and then he went to Alaska. Or no, he had an assignment in Oklahoma, which he didn't get a stipend for, and then he went to Alaska. So, you can extend. That is something that is possible. I just don't think that's something that's possible here, because they have, this was to cover people who were going on vacation who are coming back. Him going to Alaska and staying in Alaska is probably because they don't have enough techs to ensure that everything gets done. So they run about, I want to say 20 cases. No, I want to say about 30 cases a day here, which isn't bad. They only have 2 shifts. I heard that they were looking for an overnight person, so they only have 2 shifts, first and second shift. I work second shift. That is 2:30 to 11. And I think that's it. So this is what my traveling has been like, just in case you're considering it. I think it's worth it. It is its own taxing experience because you're away from everything that you've ever known before, but it's been good because I'm away from everything I've ever known before, and I get to be a new person. I'm eating differently. I'm working out. I am ensuring that I'm doing what I need to do without having to cater to people, and that's definitely different. spend a lot of time on the phone with people now though, which is not something I used to do, but it's okay. It's good. So this has been my experience so far, and I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions or you want to talk about it more, or I forgot something, let me know in the comments below, because I am learning as I go, and that's kind of what this is for. So fun stuff. I hope that you have a wonderful night or a wonderful day, and that this has been helpful. And so I will just bid you adieu. And so ich liebe dich, te amo, je t'aime, and I will see you later.